Welcome back to Scale Auto Guys Workbench. Today I'm working on the sister car to the C28 that I just recently built. And by sister car I mean it's the same F-body platform car, but it's the 68 Pontiac Firebird 400. This one is made by Revell, and based on what I looked at when I pulled it out of the box, some parts of it are better, some parts not so much. So first up, let's take a look at the body. This body looks really nice and clean. There is a little bit of cleanup I have to do around these front turn signals. There's some body line in there, and there's a little bit back here on each side, but that's it. No flash, nothing. It's clean, and it feels pretty sturdy. It doesn't feel thin and cheap. So there's your body. First up on the parts trees is your interior. Now this is where Revell kind of trumps the AMT. This is individual pieces so that you can detail them better and easier. The AMT, as you remember, the interior tub was one piece. The dash has better detail than the Camaro did. It's basically the same dash, but in better detail. The grab handle here on the Camaro is just a line. This is an actual like handle. Next up is your chassis. Revell does this one a little bit better too. Gives you the cross member molded in. A little bit more detail on the bottom of that chassis. Now I'm not trying to do a comparison video between Revell and AMT, but there are some details that were done better in this kit, and it's basically, for all intents and purposes, the same car. I know it's a Pontiac and that was a Chevrolet, blah blah blah, but Revell did it a little bit better. Here we go with the door detail. A lot better on this Revell than it was on that AMT. Of course, you got the two different style hoods here, one for a blower, one is stock. Next up is your seats. It does give you a single racing seat and two stock seats. On the next tree is your suspension parts and some engine parts. Next tree is your rear axle, roll cage. I believe that's an air cleaner, and it's huge, but I think it sits on like this on the engine, and then there's another part that goes on top of that. If I recall correctly, it's chrome, because I think I've seen one on the chrome parts tree, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Last up for your plain styrene is your exhaust system and engine blocks, firewall, or not firewall, but engine radiator support wall, excuse me. Firewall was a little bit back further. Now this kit gives you two different chrome trees. This one here gives you your stock, I guess those would be Magnum 500s, or is that just a Chrysler thing? I don't know, but it's a stock Raleigh wheel anyway. Two small mag wheels for the front, two large ones for the back, and I'll show you the tires that go with those here in just a moment. The next chrome tree is your front grille and rear bumper, along with some engine parts. Here's that chrome air cleaner that I was telling you about. That just sits on top of that other air catcher thing. Now, I gotta warn you, if you guys own this kit and you haven't opened it yet and it's just sitting on a shelf, you may want to open it up and The reason for that is these tires, now I got them in a separate bag, but these tires were in the same bag with your body. And any of you guys that have been around for a while and have collected old car kits, when they used to do the tires inside the body or in with the glass, you know these things will melt into the bodies after a while. I don't know why Revell had done this, but they did. So word to the wise, if you don't want those to melt into the body of the kit, you may want to open the box and just, you know, pull the tires out, put them in a separate bag, a Ziploc bag, something, to get them away from this styrene, because these will affect the styrene. So now that that PSA has been put out there, here's what you have. You have 4 standard tires. They're hollow, they're kind of soft, and then they give you 2 racing slicks. Those are hollow and kind of soft as well. Notice the size difference in the hole for the rim. Those bigger mag wheels go on this, or go for these, and the smaller ones go for these. Now I had kept the white letter tires from that Camaro kit. If you recall correctly, I only put a set of big ones on the back and a set of small ones on the front. I was thinking the same thing for this car, but I looked at the rims that they give you in this, and they're actually too small. You know, they're made for these tires. They're too small for the tires that came on that Camaro. Why? I have no idea. It's the same scale, I believe. This is a 1/25. And the Camaro was a 1/25 as well. So they should have been the same size. Weird. Anyway, here's your glass and 4 metal pins for your axles. They don't give you solid metal axles in this kit, they just give you metal pins. That's kind of different. It's neat and different. Next up is your decal sheet, and in many ways Revell has nailed this one too. They give you a center console center console decal, and this goes on your dash, whereas the Camaro didn't have those. You had to paint them in, if you recall correctly. They do give you some red line decals. I have never had very good luck with these circular decals like this. They always tear in half or something when I'm trying to apply them. I do like the stripes that go up the body, and I may end up using those. I really like those. The only problem is this is made for, you guessed it, the one with the hood with the blower. So I don't know. I do like the stripes though. Got gauge decals, all kinds of little badges and stuff, and it does give you the HO stripes that go down along the bottom of the body. So that's your decal sheet. Last thing is the instruction book. Revell always does these books. I think it's kind of cool. It's better than that long drawn out fold kind of sheet and then flip. But yeah, there we go. And this is that air cleaner I was telling you about. So I was right. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but yeah, that's where that HO stripe goes, along the body side. I thought it went down here, but no, it goes up there. That's cool. Alright guys, that's the 68 Firebird 2-in-1 from Revell, and as usual, some pre-assemblies like the engine block halves and things like that. Get those all done. And notice the lack of flash on all these trees. This is really cool. Very minimal cleanup has to be done. And yeah, we'll head over to the paint booth. We'll throw some primer. I'm thinking about, you know, I looked at all my paint colors. I like the box art color that reminds me of the not Matchbook, come on, Hot Wheels Firebird from way back in the day. I used to have one of those, or I may still have one of those running around here somewhere. But I like that color, but I didn't really have anything close to that. The closest I had in a metallic was this Christmas green. And to me, I don't know, guys. That just looks too green. Too green. And then I kicked around the Laguna. That's a decent looking color. But what I ultimately settled on is this Folk Art Cherry Cola. Well, wait a minute. I do have some other paints. Hold that. I guess the body color will be a mystery for now. Alright, let's go over, get some primer thrown, and start building this sucker. See you in a little bit. Alright fellas, fresh out of the paint booth from putting that clear coat on. We're going to let that sit up for a little bit. In the meantime, I went ahead and pulled the chassis out of the body, and I've painted all the cross members and framework underneath. I still have to do the gas tank, but I'll get to that in a minute. I did work on the engine. The engine's completed. I'm going with the headers on this because I'm going to go with this. Let's make up a scenario here. Just some guy owns this Firebird and he wanted a set of headers on it, but he's not going to invest the money into a fully blown engine. He wants to make it mostly stock, but he wants a little bit of performance out of it. So with that in mind, I went with the headers. Now when you set this engine down in here, there's two little blocks that go into these little blocks on the cross member. I'll show you those in just a moment. They sit right down in there. Transmission lines up with a pin back here. As you can see, the headers, well, that one sits a little low for some reason. I know they're in the right spot, but when you go with the stock exhaust system, this pin right on here on the pipe goes into that hole, and I can't really demonstrate it with the engine in place, but it kind of goes like this, and I would have to cut it basically right here and then nip this off and match it up. It's doable, but the stock exhaust system, not only does it have these, but it also has this muffler that goes in back. It's two halves. They go together and they sit in just behind the rear axle, if I'm correct on that. And I kind of want to go with that, but I kind of don't. The alternative is straight pipes coming right off the headers, and they have the locating pins here that go into those holes in the chassis up here, and then they also have holes in them to where the pins on the headers go into those. Do I want to go with straight pipes? This is going to be kind of like a street car in my vision. It's not going to be a race car per se. I got to make up my mind here. I kind of want to go with the stock pipes because this is going to be like a pro street, if you will, I guess, sort of. It still has the stock engine, it just headers. Got to make up my mind what I want to do with that, and I got to make up my mind quick because that's the next step. After that, the rear axle goes in place, and I don't know that all that fits together with the rear axle in place. So I need to decide. So let me think about it, and I'll be right back. Alright fellas, I skipped ahead a little bit. This is all basic stuff. You shouldn't have any problems figuring this out by yourself. I went ahead and got the engine mounted in, got the upper control arms in, the front suspension, and I jacked the back end up just a little bit. It's about a quarter of an inch. Oops, what was that? Uh-oh, I got a pet hair in there. Anyway, it's about a quarter of an inch taller than what the stock blocks came in for. So my shocks don't quite reach. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with that, but it's fine. I went with the stock exhaust, and like I said before, I was going to snip those ends off the headers and then just mate the pipes up to the headers. So you got headers with stock exhaust, and that's fine. And so this is all set to go. The next step is, well, I still got to finish touching up the firewall and the radiator support wall, and I think it may be time to do something with this body. Stick around, you'll see what's coming up next. Oh, and don't mind all the fan noise. It is July after all. Alright fellas, guess what time it is? It's bare metal foil time. Yeah, on this Firebird body, there's not a whole bunch of chrome's got to be done. Just around the side windows, front and rear windows, and that's about it. I have had a couple guys ask me how do I do the, or if I can do the chrome lettering on, say, like on the trunk lid here. And I know that there's a method to do that, and I've looked into it, and I haven't quite gotten to the point where I want to experiment with that yet, but I might do that sometime in the future. Whereas you take a piece of BMF, you lay it down on there when the body, before you paint the body, you trim in as close to the letters that you can get, and then you go ahead and do your paint. And then when you're done with the paint, you take a Q-tip with some thinner on it, and then you just very lightly brush over those letters to remove just the paint on the lettering. I'm not sure if I have a steady enough hand to do that without messing up the paint job, but that might be something I can do in the future. But for right now, we're just going to do around the windows, and I'll probably take a chrome pen or something and do the lettering. That's how I've done it in the past, and well, until I master this other way to do it, this is just the way it's going to be, I guess. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. If you guys don't know how to use bare metal foil, most of you do, but there's a few of you out there that are just getting into it. You need to have a nice sharp number 11 blade. Now it can be a brand new blade, or I have one of these sharpeners. Now I got this from, I think, Walmart, but you can pick them up on Amazon pretty cheap. It's got a coarse side and a fine side. I always take my blade and just run it over, through the fine side. Give it, I don't know, 8 or 10 little swipes through there. That just helps clean up that edge and make sure that you don't have any burrs on there, because if you have any burrs or it's dull, when you go to cut your foil, it's not going to cut, it's going to tear. So let's get the sheet out. I always crack myself up. Anyway, you're going to need something to kind of buff it in. There's a term, and I know it. I've used it, and it escapes me. Anyway, I just have this old piece of t-shirt material that I use. I use my number 10 blade to help me pick up the foil off the paper, but you can use anything that suits your needs. I also have a toothpick, and that helps push that foil down into little cracks and crevices, and it does it a little easier. Or you can use a fingernail if you want, but I always just use that. And I have a Q-tip on hand. Let's see if I can get a decent one out of here. There we go. I have a Q-tip on hand just to help kind of flatten things down. So when you're using your foil, what I do, well, I have this metal edged wooden ruler, you know, old school stuff. The metal keeps the blade from gouging up the wood. Obviously, it gives you a nice straight edge. For doing around windows, you know, window trim, that kind of stuff, I usually do about maybe 1/8 of an inch thick cuts, like this here, like this piece right here. And that usually works really well for doing around windows. What you do is you lay it down according to the line on the body, and everything else just kind of wraps around and it comes into the underside. I still got to paint the headliner. So without further ado, let's get started on this. So don't be afraid to, excuse me, I'm going to re-aim this camera here real quick so I don't bang my head into it. There we go. What I do is I lay my ruler out. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing, because I can't see what the camera's seeing. Let me move this paper up a little bit. So I lay it out there to where the width I want to cut, and I'll just cut one stripe throughout the whole paper. Oh, it moved. That is one of the inherent problems, that the ruler will move on you. So once you get it in place, make sure you hold it down firm. Take your blade, and just run it down through there. As you can see, nice clean cut. Now you can take your ruler, measure out the piece that you're going to put on, and this one is roughly 2 inches. But I'm not going to do 2 inches. I'm going to do just a little bit more than 2 inches, just to have a little bit of overlap. You're going to waste some of this anyway. It's inevitable that you're going to do that. You want to keep that to a minimum though, but you want to overshoot it. It's better than coming up short and then having to cut a new piece. So just lift it off the paper, peel it up. Now on longer pieces, you want to grab it as close to your slice as you can, otherwise it'll curl up on you, and then it becomes a mess. So you just take it and, holy smokes, just start on one corner, lay it down there, follow that body line, just do it a little at a time. Don't try to do the whole strip at once. And just line it up as you go. And you can kind of force it to, you know, go around bends and curves to some extent. You can't do real sharp turns with it very well. I mean, you can, but it's difficult. I've done it, but it's difficult. And you see I have a little tail there left over. So I've got it down there. Now I'm going to take my t-shirt, and burnish is the word that I was looking for earlier. It just came back to me. And you just want to burnish it down. And the nice thing about the t-shirt is as you're burnishing it down, you're also removing the tarnish from the foil, because this stuff does tarnish after a while. So you're giving it a nice little shine. Make sure you go all the way around and you seal it totally down. Now if you do it this way, minimal cutting. You don't have to, you know, if you put a big glob on there, then you have to cut it. And now you're cutting into your paint, and all kinds of things. You're risking a slip, and then you slice the paint where it's not going to be covered, and a whole lot of problems. So if you do it like this, small piece, thin piece, when you cut it off the paper, you lay it along that body line. You don't have to cut anything, but just trim off the ends. And it's the minimal cutting that you'll have to do. And that's the best way to do it. So, this is where the toothpick comes in. So you have to, if you can't see that body line where that cut needs to go, doggone it. Then you can just kind of take the toothpick and kind of mash it in there, and it'll show you where you need to cut. I didn't get in those corners real well. Let me fix that. That's another thing with the toothpick. You can kind of burnish it in with the toothpick as well. And very gently, you don't have to put a lot of pressure on that. Just gently pull it across, make your cut, take your excess. I usually save the little pieces because sometimes I do make mistakes and I need a little tiny piece to kind of cover up something, and it, you know, I have it and I don't have to actually slice it. This one is giving me some fits right here. Sometimes you don't even have to rake the blade across. You can just kind of rock it, and if you've got a sharp blade and you've done your job properly, like I haven't done. Give me a second here. It's refusing to stick, and that happens. It's bare metal foil. It's not perfect. It's not perfect at all. Oh, this thing is giving me fits. Let me go the other direction. Sometimes you have to reverse directions on it and pull it down the other way. Alright, there we go. First piece is applied, and it's looking pretty good. Alright. Because this is going to take a while, I'm not going to bore you guys to tears with this, but I'll be right back with the finished product. Alright fellas, I got the bare metal foil all finished up. Take a look at it there. I had to go back through and rebuff the body after putting this on because of all the fingerprints I had all over the paint, but yeah, that looks pretty darn good. Okay, that's now that that's finished, let's move on to the interior. I still have to throw some paint on it and put it together. So let's head over to the paint booth and we'll knock that out right now. Alright fellas, now this interior, as you could see when I painted it, it comes in several different pieces. I went ahead and got the back seat glued in. I detailed the door panels as best I could using a chrome paint pen and a silver gel pen, and well, nah. That's the way that is. Now I did notice when I sprayed that True Taupe on the seats, it did, I don't want to say it had a reaction to the primer, but it did do something, and it kind of bubbled up a little bit, and for most of the time that would be a bad thing. But in this case, the bubbling up gave the seats a little bit of texture, if you will, because it's not that bad. It's just very fine little bubbles, if you will. Yeah, I don't know if you can see them over here on this edge and across the bottom here. It gives the seat a little bit of texture, so it kind of worked out really well. So I don't know, it's weird. It happened on kind of on this side of the seat, but not so much on the bottom of the seat. But it did give a little bit of texture there, so that worked out good. Alright, let me finish this up. I have to wait for, I threw some clear coat on the dash, and I'm debating on whether or not that was a good idea. And I was going to go with the center console here, but I decided that I would just put some chrome around that and just go with the regular non-fancy floor shift. So let me get these seats glued in, and I'll be right back with this completed. Alright fellas, I got the interior finished up. Yeah, I think that's gonna look alright. I went through with a silver gel pen, and I detailed the dash, and I went ahead and I decided to go ahead and go with that center console. It kind of, I don't know, makes the interior look a little bit better, I guess. And I'm just kind of curious on, and you see I did paint the headliner. Let's just see how this looks in here. I still have to put the glass in, but we'll take a look. If I can get this to set down in here right. There we go. Oh no, it's not in there right. There we go. There we go. Just like that. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Alright, let's go ahead and get the glass put in. And we have quite a few steps to go yet, but we'll go ahead and get the glass put in here. That's one step further towards completion. Alright fellas, I'm doing the wheels and tires right now, and initially I was a little confused, but I figured it out. Okay, so here's the back wheels, and it's got a metal pin. You get 4 metal pins like that, and what you have to do is take your wheel back, you put your pin in. Now the back wheels, the outer rim glued to this surface, but for the forward ones they kind of slip down inside, and they don't sit in there real well. You just kind of have to get them in there as good as you can. And then this whole assembly, like here's the back tire, the whole assembly, you just kind of push it in until you get it. You have to fiddle around with it. this edge of the tire should slip up over that. And then yeah, a lot of pain in the butt. You may have to fiddle around with yours like this too. Alright, there it is. So that's the finished look. You got a lip here on the front and a lip on the back, and you got to get the tire to sit on those two little lips, just like a regular car tire. Yeah. So that's what it looks like when it's finished. Now these front ones, I got to glue this one together if I can get it back apart, because I don't want it falling apart after I get the stupid thing on the car. There we go. Got to glue that in, but they basically, because they're hollow tires, they go together the same way. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Let me go ahead and get these finished. Welcome to the final on this 1968 Pontiac Firebird 400 by Revell. Well, let's first start out with saying that this car was a fun build, as they usually are. It went together really well. There was no warp, very little flash, and all the parts fit like they should. As you've seen earlier in the video, I went with the Deco Art Prussian blue paint. It was a great base for the Folk Art Full Spectrum Dragonfly glaze that went on next. The end result is kind of subtle, kind of like a subtle show car finish. I'm going to talk a little bit about the suspension. You know, I raised that rear end using some shackle blocks that were left over from a previous build. And I think it really gives the car a proper stance and plenty of clearance for those drag slicks. The front tires almost look too big for this body though. Maybe if Revell had designed a little bit larger wheel for the front end, it wouldn't have made the tire look so big. But then again, you would have had to have decreased the size of the tire just a little bit, just to give it a little bit lower profile, and I think it would have made it look a little bit better. Overall though, I think it looks pretty sharp. Now onto the body. The body was crisp and clean with only a few minor areas that needed some attention. Some of those areas, they took maybe 3 or 4 minutes of my attention to correct. It wasn't anything really big. I found that the edges of the tops of the fenders were just a little too sharp. So I took some 1000 grit sandpaper and I just knocked those sharp edges down. Other than that, the body was, for the lack of a better way to say it, perfect. The only thing that I think that would have made this car any better would have been the addition of a front and rear spoiler. Now I really liked how the glass went in as well. Folks over there at Revell engineered little indentations for the windows to sit in on the inside. So there was no alignment pins or anything like that. All I had to do is place the windows into the little indentations and add a couple of drops of Mod Podge. That Mod Podge sealed them right into place, easy peasy. I also love the fact that the outside door handles were separate on the chrome tree, and they installed through pre-drilled holes in the body. No bare metal foil necessary. Aww. And they look fantastic. I wish other model kits had the same option. I think those turned out really, really great. Now my only real complaint about the body that I have is the tail lights. I think that they're really kind of small in appearance for the body. Now I realize that the 1-1 car had small tail lights, but they appeared larger than they are in this kit. The lenses really fit well into the rear fascia, but they really should have just been a tickle bigger, I think. Well, another great build is done. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and click the thumbs up, share, and hype buttons. All of that helps the YouTube algorithm to share my content to other like-minded folks. If you have any questions or comments, please write those in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to respond as soon as possible. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, or if you like, you can drop me a line at scaleoutaguy@gmail.com. If you want more videos like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button below, and make sure to hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching Scale Out a Guy's Workbench, and I'll see you on the next build.